jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show.
Join us as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show.
Have you ever had any pet rabbits?
No, I had hamsters.
They're pretty much like hamsters. Most people don't know not only just how laid back, kind of like cats and dogs they can be, but just how they make unusual noise. Like rabbits make unusual buzzes, and yeah, hamsters, yeah. Everybody just needs to stop neglecting them and actually, feed and refill their water.
Right?
Oh, stop leaving them in hot places, people. There's already enough heartbroken stories, please. Oh.
Didn't have pets.
This is what the same thing I say about kids. It's like you should know by how well you're doing on your exam how you can handle having a family.
True.
Stop giving that kid up for adoption.
So that's a good segue into the pedophile.
Yeah, perfect.
So, yes, I know that Victor Salva got
Yeah.
sports.
I had some other people who I tempted with this episode, and they're like, "Yep, no, can't talk about without talking about Salva," so that's a no-go. And I couldn't blame them.
It's a good discussion for whether you can separate the art from the artist.
Right. If I can handle Klaus Kinski being a bad person, can I handle his performance? Well, I'll never forgive him for what he did to his daughter, but I can handle some of his movies, I'll say that. I don't know if he's a good actor per se, because he's kind of method, so I think you could say the same thing about this. I mean, because Salva is a creep that plays well for this movie, I can't blame you if you just say, yeah, that movie grossed me out, and oh, lo and behold, the guy's a jerk, so I'm not gonna watch the movie. But how did you discover this one?
Okay, so Stephen King is the reason, because of The Stand and Randall Flagg, the Dark Man. The Creeper is what I imagined he looked like.
Oh, okay.
To me, this monster is scarier than Predator or scarier than Alien. This guy, he's so disgusting to me.
That's a very good point. Yeah, this played endlessly on Showtime. I always heard about it, and of course I knew the song Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get those peepers? So, stuff like that. I was familiar with plenty of other folklore, like the Chupacabra, which this kind of reminds me of. But yeah, I saw it on the movies on Sci-Fi Channel. They played endlessly there. They later premiered the third movie after it had a brief screening. It would play nonstop.
For one night. One night only.
One night only.
One night only. And I was there, and that theater was packed. And that was after I found out, because I didn't know with 1 and 2. I found out after, and they were like, "Are you still going to go?" I'm like, "Hell yes." So, I'm still mad at Woody Allen. I'm still mad at Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I don't give a crap about Victor Salva. So
I'll never like Roman Polanski as a person, but I'll always be opening night at one of his movies. It's just one of those. Everyone's got a limit.
Mel Gibson.
Don't get. I wish you could have been on the Mock Awards show. We did it. I had an award that I was giving out for the Avenue Q award for every movie's a little bit racist, and I awarded it to Dragged Across Concrete, the
Oh,
racist movie by the Weinstein lad in Cinestate. I was like, because well, look at Serpico or City on a Hill. You can tell that the crooked cops in those movies are written as, shitheads. You can just tell the tone is there. The people have a good standing outside. This movie literally just makes you wonder what is the point and why you're saying just such fucked up shit, and you're on record as saying you're for the MAGA crowd. So it's like, yeah, okay, I don't buy it. You're just a hate mongering movie that's you're disguised as an exploitation movie. And I think this movie, Jeepers Creepers, works because it looks like a grindhouse drive-in kind of movie like Texas Chainsaw or even The Howling. Like the poster literally looks like The Howling. So good marketing on MGM, which owns both. And yet you also know that it's not going to be as tasteless or over the top or just silly. It's just like, okay, it's like Final Destination. It's trying to be a teen horror movie, and you open up with a dual type highway chase scene. It has some of that same kind of just middle of nowhere kind of stuff.
yeah.
Incompetent law enforcement. So it's pretty much like The Hitcher, for lack of a better comparison. And you got this unstoppable creature, so you could definitely compare it to the Terminator or any other thing. So it's both exciting and scary. So that's why I put the action horror label on it. It's like, because those cops are, shooting out with shotguns and they're being picked apart by this gargoyle looking creature.
Yeah. I read in probably the trivia on IMDb that Salva said that the Florida filming locations were so beautiful that he had to darken the shots to make it more menacing. And where they filmed it, up near Citrus County, Marion, I think it's Marion.
Yeah, it's in North Central. Did you
There are
recognize?
hills there. Florida's not all flat. It's beautiful up there. But it's really creepy to me because you are out in the middle of nowhere. And they said even that he got people to remove their mailboxes, so it looked more desolate on those roads. And that's the thing about Florida. If you live in Miami and you want to drive anywhere, you can be on the road 8-10 hours just in Florida. So, it was especially creepy to me.
Did you recognize many of those segments from being that just because you've also been there?
I knew right away that it had to be around Citrus County. I thought it was Citrus County, but it's the next one over. But a lot of that central part of Florida looks like that. I mean, Ocala is supposed to be very beautiful. I've never actually been to Ocala, but anyway,
Okay.
This is another small town called Dunalon, which is near there. Florida's full of little creepy towns. And in the Trump era, it's just not somewhere you want to be. So
But how about that?
it feels that way, but a lot of
So
Florida people will relate to it.
so maybe the creeper is actually a symbolism of Epstein, if you think about it. Nah, scratch that.
Eileen Warnos comes to mind.
Oh shit.
Even the vehicle is terrifying to me. That old truck and the horn. The fact that it smells. I mean, when he flipped out those wings, oh my God. The first movie just scared the crap out of me. The second movie I love because it has more of that high school element where it was like the brother-sister dynamic where the sister's a little bit older. I have a younger brother, so I did that a lot. I think that when I went to see 3, I didn't have any expectations. I just wanted to see the monster again and see what he did with it. And I liked how they changed it. And I like how the truck got weaponized and what they did with that. And some of the different characters that they brought in, the holding the hand. Like, why couldn't he just ask her? Why did he have to hold the hand too? I know I'm jumping around a lot. But
no, it's a good point. It's very loose with the logic. It kind of just involves you enough to where you're just like, okay, So it is what it is, and they're just trying to excite you and go on to the next moment.
Right. So in the second one, I think what I loved the most was when he kills it with the homemade weapon, which, as an action movie fan, you really have to appreciate that he turned a post hole digger into a spear launcher and mounted it on a vehicle. That's very Machete.
Oh, totally. You need that. You need that moment where it's like that Jaws or Aliens type moment. Where it's like, fuck yeah, yeah.
He's so persistent. He's like, get around the bus. And then when he shoots it, not just once, but when he finally shoots it the last time, he goes over with like a Johnson bar. I don't know if you've heard the term Johnson bar.
I have not. I'm an
Okay, so in Florida, everything's rocky. Like if you want to plant anything, you're going to hit rock. So you need what's basically a metal javelin with a sharp end to chip away at the coral stone so you can put something in the ground. So that's what it looked like he had to me when he
monster.
He went over it and he stabbed that thing 34 times and then once more at the end. And the theater just erupted in applause because so many times in horror movies, they stab the villain once or twice, drop the knife on the floor, and then run away. And of course, it's not dead, and it wakes up and it brings the knife back to kill them.
Right, it pulls a Godzilla respawn, and here they are actually they're just getting to the killing business. It's like, all right, we're gonna keep fucking you up until you finally, blow the hell up.
I mean, they just turned that on its head. He killed the shit out of it. Every time I watch that, I enjoy it so much.
I could imagine. I had kids in 2003, so I would have been 13. Definitely wasn't allowed to sneak away to the theater to watch R-rated movies. So basically, everybody in school, this junior high, just flat out ruined it for me. They had gone to see it with their brother, uncle, or just snuck in and lied, saying, "Yeah, I'm 17." And it's like, you bastards, you just ruined the fucking movie for me. So it was just so funny how, I would see it and it's like, I can understand why people like these. These are just fun hack and slash, blow the hell up type movies. A lot of critics compared this to a horror movie version of Speed. And I didn't really think of it at first, but it kind of has that. If it's not a direct descendant, it at least has some of that same kind of, you feel like you're in the bus with everyone, just you want to see what they'll do next, how they'll react to it. So that kind of mentality, the shit writes itself.
Of Tremors.
Yes, it does kind of have the same kind of Tremors. It's not as, yeah. The creature. Would you say this? Does the creature remind you of the Djinn, the evil genie in Wishmaster?
I don't. I would have to look it up. Hold on.
Andrew Divoff, Alexandra. The Egyptian creature, yeah.
Yeah,
and
but this is more cartoonish, like a.
Oh yeah. The although if you look at the creature from like afar, it would totally creep you the hell out because it has that blood-sucking kind of jawline. So if you saw that in the dark, it would be like, holy shit, is that like a mutant vampire bat? What is that?
I think because the creeper's black, it makes all the difference.
Oh yeah. And
he looks like his skin is tar.
Right. He is a creature of the night.
I'm not afraid of this white guy.
And then when
that sounded racist. I didn't mean it to. I didn't mean black in the sense.
No.
Black in the sense of color.
Well, hopefully anyone who's been listening knows that. No, we're not bigots. But yeah, it's so weird how he's got the cloth. Now that I think about it, he might be a metaphor for some kind of serial killer. But yeah, you see him with the hat. He's like a mutant scarecrow almost.
You're talking about the creeper now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was already defending you, just saying no, you didn't mean it that way. If anyone who's been listening.
When the little boy in 2 was looking at him, I mean, you see right away that the scarecrow's different, but he hasn't noticed it yet. it's so heartbreaking to me that the father and his brother are like right there and there's nothing they can do.
Yeah. And I think I like how he uses a mix of spears and, the wings and all that. And, I used to play action figures with, various movie geeks all the time. And they had like a Draco, the dragon from Dragonheart. And they would always be making their own kind of like cosplay, but for action figures. They would use hot glue, make their own creations. And I had one. He was a super mega Star Wars buff. And he was basically he was inspired by the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers, I remember. And he basically, was making this ultimate, like his original Star Wars mutant creature, but he was inspired by all these other sci-fi horror creatures. And I was like, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, right?
I think the Creeper has just stood out because it's not about one-liners or anything. It's just about flat out just making him just, because you don't know what to expect, it's all the more creepy. That's why it works.
Yeah, I agree. Because in the first one, you don't see enough of him. And in the second one, they really roll out all the different things he can do. They changed him quite a bit for the third one. Like they gave him claws on his feet and his face mask is different. It's worse to me. It's not as good. And it looks like the actor gained some weight because he seems a lot stockier. But
I think so.
Close enough. And he's still like, he's fucking intense. He's not he's not afraid of anything.
Right. And you just don't know, so because the movie has all this uneasiness about it, if it were to just randomly go even more apeshit in the third finale and say, oh, and he has magical powers too, it would be merited because you already have so much uneasiness, so much surprise, so much constant just in your face creep out moments. It's like, yeah, it's earned. It's this kind of movie, as opposed to they're making shit up literally day by day, just until they run out of money, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
This was planned.
They do a lot of paying attention to detail, like the weapons that he has. They're heat seeking.
Yes, where did that come from?
The card, like there's a little alien motif to it, or predator.
Predator's kind of a good thing because he is kind of hunting him for the fun of it, if not for sport.
Right. So what's this guy doing besides replacing missing parts? There could be so much more to where he came from. And when he curls up in a little ball at the end, I thought that like the whole body shrunk into that ball the first time I saw it, but that was just his head with those like finger claws that cover his face.
Oh,
but
now I got to rewatch it already.
When they show up in the barn, they have like the whole body there and the two wings and then the head separate. But I mean, put that shit in muriatic acid and dissolve it. I'm like, what are you waiting for?
You're right. They're so. I think the characters, they are instantly relatable because they don't spend so much time just screaming nonstop. Most of the time they're just like, what the fuck is that? Oh my God.
Yeah, it happens fast.
And because I saw these on cable TV, half the time I wouldn't know why they got an R rating because they modified them so much, the violence. But then I would also be, language was a little evident. Okay, so they said a few F words. But then I like the first one that says brief nudity. And so for the longest time, I'm like, what is that for? Oh, that's for the dead bodies at the beginning. Yeah. Okay. But that's as creepy and as unpleasant as they get. Other than that, had I not known that, Victor was who he was, it seems like, what he did was wrong, but I don't think he ever did anything fucked up ever since that.
Oh, really? I don't think you ever come out of that. That's just my opinion. Vice had an
I mean, I think he's still fucked up in the head, but I don't think and this is not a defense of such a shitty thing to do, having sex with a 12-year-old, but I don't think he's one of those. I mean, don't get me wrong. I could easily, someone for a Hollywood magazine could probably ask his parole officer and ask differently. But it seems like his shittiness just kind of comes off just in his work, so to speak. So he breeds his flaws, and that's why this movie is what it is.
I would agree.
Makes his creepiness be his career. Now, is he a good person? Fuck no. But I think that's kind of where he just went with this. And so, yeah, by the time part 3 rolls around, like you say, his real lifeness is well known. He hasn't really made too many movies, so that kind of made sense why he had been out of work for a while. It was just kind of an industry secret everyone knew about. I think they asked Francis Ford Coppola's company that produced it for comment, and they just never talked about it. They declined to comment. So it's one of those like, okay.
Yeah.
So they know. But it seemed like everyone was just willing to put aside, like, okay, I don't like that I'm giving my money to someone like this, but at the same time, I want to see more Jeepers Creepers. So get what I get. Part 3 rolled around. I was surprised at the cast for this one, how they had a few more cameos. Gina Phillips returned. Why has she not had more work? Because she was really awesome in part 1, and she had some other TV gigs, like Boston Public and Ally McBeal, and yet her career never was really as big. She was always just known as Trish from Jeepers Creepers.
Right.
Justin Long, this was a big career move for him. I had already seen this after I, knew him as the Mac Kid and movies like Die Hard 4 and a few other movie cameos.
I really like Justin Long, and it was his first lead role.
Yeah, take a chance.
I would like to see him carry the torch from Die Hard with John McClane's daughter, and then have it be like a Hackers Sneakers kind of.
Oh man, you're speaking my language. That's
right.
That's what part 6, before it got killed at Disney, was supposed. When they owned Fox, was supposed to be, where McClane goes to vacations in Japan. A bunch of terrorists take it over in Tokyo. Justin Long, Mac character is dating McClane's daughter, or by that point they're fiancés, and then McClane, the duo, and even the son, which he never knew he had, all had to fight it. And there was various people rumored to be auditioning, like Rick Yoon and everybody, and yet it was in development hell, despite Len Wiseman being attached to it, and now I think it's dead, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, Bruce pissed me off too. He will never be as good, I'm sorry, as he was as John McClane. It's like an insult and a compliment. But,
I think that's why he got tired of it. I think he just felt like...
get tired of something that was so awesome. It's like sacrilege.
Right. I think he just should have either just concentrated on the franchise to where he could then do whatever he wanted to do, and he just needed to get his head out of his ass. I will be honest, I do like some of these junky action movies he's been making lately, because those are just my kind of movie. I like Training Day, Die Hard type knockoffs, so who better than him?
Too.
I think he's also... Well, I think... Okay, so he's an asshole, but at the same time, I think the whole Kevin Smith debacle, and we'll roll this back to Justin Long in just a bit, gets blown out of proportion because they just weren't seeing eye to eye, and so because that whole movie was hell to make for both of them, it was popular to say, oh, Bruce, he's a boring asshole to be around. So then he starts off in a lot of those. Everyone's wondering, why does he keep making these movies? It's like, because he's friends with those producers who made 16 Blocks and Hostage, and he doesn't have to do anything except show up for 1 to 2 days and get paid $2 million. That's a win. So I think he's gotten better, though. They've gotten better at the schedules and the limited budgets, and just saying, okay, we're going to actually have him do something and actually monologue, laugh evilly, or shoot someone while he talks on the phone. So, but it is what it is.
I think he wanted to be like an actor, not like an action actor.
That could be it, too. I mean, he was the moonlighting guy, and then you get Die Hard, a mega hit.
So that's through that era where he was like the wisecracking guy, and he was handsome. He had more hair then. Because I'm mad at him. But he rolled into that role so flawlessly because it was that same kind of wisecracking guy, and everybody loved him. I mean, that show was huge. So,
Totally.
oh yeah, yeah,
Totally.
it was hilarious. He was so good at
I think it Insane Elsewhere definitely still hold up now. This generation probably won't be watching as much because, it varies in terms of streaming availability. But I think it's just a testament of the writing. It was the right time. It was the right era. Everything was working.
You talking
And
about the Moonlighting?
yeah. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Which one? Are you talking about Die Hard or are you talking about
Moonlighting. Yeah, it's just
yeah, nobody's gonna watch that.
unfortunately not. But speaking of the Die Hard motive, I think that is kind of why Jeepers Creepers kind of works. It has some. I don't think it's a direct Die Hard kind of movie, but it does kind of have that kind of same kind of disaster movie kind of quality to it. You're seeing people run around, drive real fast in cars, but it's not, it's not Fast and Furious or the Transporter. It's more like The Hitcher, where we got to get away from this creature. And Justin Long to actually carry a movie, this is 2 years after he made his debut as one of the geeks in Galaxy Quest, and so to see him actually take on that responsibility and say, I'm going to be dorky, and then I'm going to be everyday kind of man. I start out joking, then I start out, he doesn't really have to do much. He and Gina didn't really have to do much except just be very they weren't layered, so to speak, but they were just kind of fortunately they had enough realistic material as like, okay, I'm going to react to this and say, stuff that any normal person would say instead of do so many outrageously stupid things that you just want to root for everyone to die. His death is tragic. It's like, okay, so this isn't a happy ending.
I thought that they did a good job on the script of capturing the brother-sister dynamic. And there was a lot of comedy in there too, like situational
comedy. I think he even says something like, "This is my car. I'm gonna drive."
Oh no, it's her car. So
that's right. Okay.
It's like, why did we bring my car? Because this is a piece of shit, and I can't charge my phone. So yeah, ouch. That hurts when you're in the middle of nowhere.
You're right. So there you go. And so
the soundtrack is awesome. I'm a big person for a good soundtrack, and I love the Predator soundtrack, which has been used in a lot of things. This composer, or I don't know if that's his title, but Bennett Salve, I had never heard of him, but the music is amazing and it adds so much to the movie.
Yes. Did you see his previous movies, Powder, Rites of Passage, or even Nature of the Beast?
I liked Powder. I thought it was super intense.
All right. And apparently that's when his conviction became well known, and that's when. But yeah, Powder's kind of a tragic movie, and I think it was like the best Tim Burton movie that Tim Burton did make. But Nature of the Beast, I kind of feel, is what plays the most big effect on Jeepers Creepers, because that also is a road movie with a lot of mystery.
Yeah.
Even though it was always in the action or the horror section, because it had those elements, it's primarily a mystery. And I think maybe you could even argue that with Jeepers Creepers, at least part one has a lot of mystery. Just instead of just encountering a bunch of just town officials, most of it is just running away and seeing what the creature does and how he eats people, and you witness the horror without feeling like you're watching just a tasteless, Z-grade movie that you would otherwise watch on cable TV at 2 a.m. It just really does feel like a very well done B creature feature. Salva's favorite monster movie was apparently Creature from the Black Lagoon. I can see that influence, but he said he sat through Jaws 55 times, so I think Jaws is definitely the bigger influence with this. Just that whole hell yeah, oh my god, oh crap, how are they gonna get out?
Yeah.
So you were fortunate enough to see Part 3, opening day. How many people would you estimate? Was there like at least a good 200 something people?
Yeah, the auditorium wasn't that big, but then the theater that I go to is like for kids. It's all they show. So that's kind of annoying to me because there's another AMC location that's much further west in I forgot my train of thought. Okay.
So either way, it was an easy
in a different kind of neighborhood that they like action, and they got a lot of, like, I forget what it was called. It was like something after dark.
Okay, yeah. The Warner Brothers or Screen Media or something after dark series. Yeah.
So, like, I had to really watch all the theaters to figure out where it was going to go, because the one near me that's like 24, they're not going to get it, which it annoys the hell out of me. I mean, we got University of Miami, like literally 2 blocks from the theater. Can you please get all the big action movies?
Please.
They get a lot of independent and foreign films, so I get to see all the Indian action movies, which are awesome.
Damn. So.
Right? I'd say about 200, like what you said in that.
Okay.
Program.
So
that's, I guess, I don't think when it came out they were adjusting last minute auditorium size based on ticket sales.
Yeah, I mean, they just wanted to be able to just say, okay, we can get a little extra word out. It's not going straight to cable TV and then DVD and Blu-ray just yet, but it's getting some extra theatrical run. There's no point in putting it in a festival because of Salva Scandal, but at the same time, there's still an audience who would like to see it in the theater, so let's...
And people were talking about the scandal before the movie. Like, it was like, either you knew already or somebody was telling you right then.
Yeah, and that was around the time that Screen Crush, Den of Geek, and all the other just very crappy blog sites and scandal and rumor gossip sites are finally finding traffic on the internet even more so than even TMZ, and they're just going to town. And so of course they pick up on him. They're like, whose movie release can we ruin before it comes out? Just dirty business. And
you gotta wonder though, are they doing that like for hype, which kind of sick?
I think maybe someone connected might have, because I mean, there's been a lot of that with every other Universal, Fox, or Lionsgate release. There's always someone who has to do some dirty stuff, and someone is like, hold on a minute, why does this have a high rating on Rotten Tomatoes or Fandango before it comes out? So there's definitely a lot of dirty stuff going on. I mean, Amazon and IMDb is eventually going to have to start doing some damage control and just start reporting reviews saying this movie isn't out yet. This is clearly written by people involved with it. Stop writing 10-star reviews before the wide release, please.
Yeah.
I mean, it was always like that even back in the 2000s. It would take literally a year to get a final decent, realistic rating, because almost everything would have an 8 out of 10. Even the worst movie is like, yeah.
I don't pay a lot of attention to that because it's usually the opposite of what I think. So.
Well, I don't even. I pretty much am just looking at it from an observational business. I know it's not going to ever add up either to what general audiences are thinking, or it's just I pretty much do it for research. How many fake looking reviews can I find now? It's like, okay, so there's already 5 10-star reviews. Those clearly are people involved. Okay, now I'm finally finding 1-star reviews. Those are either people who are trolls or people who are legit. I'll only know based on what kind of a review is underneath. Okay, it's clearly written by a 10-year-old who has bad grammar. Okay, this is written by someone who it clearly gets pissed off very easily by many movies. And now I'm seeing, I'm more likely to look up the 4, 5, 6, or 7-star review.
It's at least something you can appreciate that they decided to split it between critics and audience. And that's always interesting to me for action movies. How much
Oh,
the audience
totally.
liked it, and if the critics liked it or not. And it's rare that they match with action movies.
They rare when they match, and I even like to even just kind of, I don't want to be a snob because the critics are already doing that job for us, but I always like to just go through the reviews and say it's not as good as the last movie, and it's like, and you guys hated the last movie, so what does that comment really mean? It
It's
wasn't as
almost
big
like,
a hit.
yeah, they're predisposed just because it's a sequel. That's not necessarily a bad thing, you know?
Sometimes a sequel's better than the initial movie that wasn't so hot.
Well, chapter one, you know, like
Yeah.
with Jeepers Creepers, with Final Destination, they're important and they're good on their own, but the second one is much better to me.
Yeah, I knew a lot of people who, for whatever reason, either got bored or just didn't find the first one all that notable, but they always swear by the second one. They're like, yeah, that was a dope movie. And I mean, people always do the whole, if you didn't like the first movie, why'd you see the next one? It's like, because sometimes magic happens. Sometimes you see the second movie. Sometimes they pull a Godfather on you where it was supposed to be one big 3-hour movie and they just had to split it up because of the creativity and marketing and all that. And so then you end up seeing the sequel 2 years later and say, you know what? I've been a hard ass. How about I go back and rewatch the first one?
This was very interesting to me to go back and watch these movies because I hadn't seen them in a while. I own Final Destination 2. That's a big test for me, is whether I would watch it again and whether I would buy it. So one of these I own, but it's not because I don't like Jeepers Creepers or I don't want to give that guy my money. I can't buy a movie that I would like to own, but Jeepers Creepers is just so creepy. I don't want the video in my house. That's how much I don't like the creeper.
Well, fortunately, I mean, with these movies, you can buy them used, so you won't give a cent of that. And I don't think he made that much money off of it. I really don't think he did, because
I'm real picky about that.
Oh, and I'm the same way. There's plenty of other people is like, okay, yeah. I mean, I watch most of my stuff online anyway, and I hate it when everyone does the whole you're promoting piracy. I'm like, no, I'm only promoting.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
So I think you should pay for the art.
Okay.
So I never pirate.
All right. Sometimes
Okay, so we have someone that we rent a room to, and they pirated, and we got a notice from the cable company that someone in your house pirated. And I said to my mother, it wasn't me.
I'll see.
So,
I mean, I don't watch a movie if it's still in theaters. That's the thing. Like, if it's a DVD rip that someone took, that's pretty much what I do. But if
you pay to see it.
Okay, well, I do plenty of paying every once in a while on Prime and what have you.
Oh, so you don't like going to the big screen?
Oh, I'll pay to see a movie on the big screen if I need to, but I don't.
If you need to.
Because
Okay,
okay, no, that's fine. You feel free to interrogate me. I don't go to the movies much because I can't stand many movies, and But I will always just buy the DVD or Blu-ray or give it a rent eventually.
Okay,
And,
so what are your top 5 movies then? Do you know? Can you say?
Lawrence of Arabia, probably.
You're a film guy. Okay.
Well, and then you're gonna laugh at this. Then probably something outrageous like Showdown in Little Tokyo. So there you go.
Okay.
Maybe not a top 10 movie, but a top 10 action of 91. Oh man. So I'm not going to buy something that's from a torrent site, but I might buy a TV show if it hasn't been released and it's a damn good show that the studio's never going to release.
But you want to watch all your movies for free?
I don't watch all my movies for free, but I do watch some of them for free.
All right.
On either an official streaming site or wherever I can find it.
You heard it here, folks. I'm just kidding.
That's fine.
Sorry,
Everybody,
appropriate that I'm growing
Texas video stores suck. They do not have much spontaneous shit at all. Like, if I were to find one video store that I could find, I would still have to drive probably 40 minutes just to buy out the whole place. Of just rare, hard to find movies.
Yeah.
And
I
so
lived in rural South Carolina, and I had to drive 45 minutes to a normal theater and like an hour and a half to a big theater. So I can appreciate a little bit, but I would still make the drive. Like, even when I was really broke and I had to scrounge between the chairs for change.
oh shit.
Yeah, I would still pay.
You heard it from her, folks. So stop being snobby and realize you have it good with your credit cards. I mean, really, I see so many people, they act like it's such a drag to have to conjure up change. It's like, you should have a few nickels and a few bucks on you anyway.
Yeah, adults should carry cash, but I'm not an adult.
It's all good. I mean, it's not needed for every occasion, but every once in a while, I mean, I feel like a lot of people treat a lot of the waiters and ushers very poorly. So I think there was a lot of that. I stopped going to a lot of movie theaters. Don't get me wrong. There would always be one big historical or big screen epic where it's like, okay, it's worth it to see that on the big screen.
Okay, all right, you're redeemed. Okay, I mean, Lawrence of Arabia, come on.
Well, there's that, but there's also like the basis. I'm gonna see probably a courtroom thriller or a crooked cop movie or a gangster epic, but every other action or horror movie, it's just I don't really need to see it on the big screen. It's just one of those, I'm gonna probably buy the physical copy or just see it on the streaming.
Cam, you don't know what you're missing. Seriously.
I mean, I went there many times as a kid, so I just always hated the previews.
Okay, so you think I don't live in Texas, because I would drag your ass to the theater.
That's fine. Even before Corona, I just was being constantly disappointed by just so many unfunny comedies and just other crapola. So I mean, I would have seen Jeepers Creepers 1 or 2 probably in the theater had I been of the age and had a different time. I would have totally liked to have seen that kind of movie in the theater and experience what you experienced. I would have totally loved to have seen other classics like all these other franchises we talked about in the theater. And
Okay.
unfortunately,
Sorry, go ahead.
it's just the general movies. Like if they're very overhyped, I just know that I'm just probably gonna be. They're just the kind of movie I'm just gonna walk out. I just went to just so many stinkers, so many stupid, mindless shit back in just all throughout, to where I was like, I need to save this money for college.
I hear you.
I would go to an occasional Friday night movie, but here and there, I was just always getting disappointed or just being like, I don't know why everyone's losing their shit over this controversial movie.
So there's two other things about going to the theater. It's being in the dark and having like really nothing in your peripheral vision. You're there to watch it. And even if you turn the lights off in your room, it's not the same. And the other thing is that AMC now has the A-list, where you can see 3 movies a week, anytime, even IMAX, the tickets that are $17, it doesn't matter, for like $21 a month. Let me tell you, they are losing money on me. And on top of that, they give you points when you get the tickets. I never pay for the concession food anymore because I got so many points. So to me, it's not that expensive anymore to go to the movies. I can pretty much see everything I want, even though now it's closed. They're not charging us during this time, but I can't wait for them to reopen, and I'll risk the COVID to go.
All right, so you got a good deal. I just didn't. I love the essence of the theater. I love the surround sound. I love the darkness, like you say, because now my problem is I just had too many just shitty experiences in the theater. Just people who were reacting inappropriately, bringing their crying baby, bringing siblings along who didn't understand the kind of cult movies that I understood. They wanted to take me to just some stupid, college comedy or, a Star Wars knockoff. And I just wanted to just see something like, Street Kings or Training Day type knockoff, or just something, hell, if there's an anniversary screening of Wishmaster, I would totally see that. It's just, they didn't.
So like the early show on Saturday for the adult movie rather than the weekend night, because the kids are ridiculous.
Pretty much, I got a good time just pretty much going in between college classes while I waited to pick my sister up, and I would just pretty much sneak off to see cult movies like Oculus and some probably the latest Denzel slugfest, but that was it. And there's definitely a lot of early screenings, but unfortunately, it's either a movie that I just don't really want to see in the theater. I just want to wait and do the HBO effect, or it's just.
Okay, but like with horror, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Okay, I've never seen that. Like that's where I drew the line with horror and end up switching to action.
That's fine.
I guess I was too afraid to see that, and I thought, okay, I found my limit.
I think it's just because it's so serious, and yet it's so lowbrow, and it's just like. But this is just stupid. And yet I understand why some people swear by it, and other times it's like, but it's not like it was a well-respected movie back in the day. So that's where it's just like, okay. I think it's just a lot of the cult movie fanatics,
But like the Saw series and Hostel. But to me, there's people who made Hostel. There's just something wrong with you. Even from the trailer.
Those should not even be rated R. Kids should not see that. But see, then this is where people argue, oh, but then you're censoring me. I was like, well, it's going. That's where it's going into. It's a modern day exploitation movie, and it's trying to get a rise out of you. It might as well be porn. And it's very
torture porn, like
right. And
segues into like Tiff's Midnight Madness. Like I just don't get those people.
Exactly. And so then people want to make the argument when they see a torture scene on, say, like a show like NCIS or 24 or Law and Order. And it's like, well, it's not the same. It's a dramatic effect. And
it's the same.
Well, it can
nowadays it's ridiculous. I mean, Netflix, there's way too much sex. Come on. Like
okay, I'll have to agree with you. Yeah, there's a lot of unimaginative filmmakers who try to just go for just the gross and just throw it all there to where they might as well have vomited. I mean, I pretty much just draw the line at what is the filmmaker going for, So just like when you, right, and so
justified.
Well, so now that's an even bigger question. When is it justified, and when is it just shit? So,
it's like the definition of porn. When you see it, you know.
Right. And with this torture is like, if it's just one episode that had a torture scene and the rest of the episodes typically aren't like that, I'll probably let it fly. If it's just intense and they're not showing what they're doing to the person, it's like, okay, so they're kind of going for a Hitchcock level. Now, if they're actually showing me, them removing body parts, and it's like, then I got to draw the line. I can't do that.
Like, what about the James Bond scene, Casino Royale, where they whacked him in the balls with a rope? I didn't like that at all.
That's fine.
I thought it was kind of mild. He's sitting there in the chair, but I thought, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't know. It's just something about that particular scene. I didn't care for it all. Or maybe it's the way they filmed it. I don't know.
I could probably say the same about the scene where Blofeld's torturing him in Spectre. It's like, I don't need to hear the drilling and all that. Again, this is not a Saw movie.
I guess it's a personal thing then. Huh?
I don't think. I see where you're going with it. I don't think it's necessarily a personal thing. I think it's just a matter of how they present it and how it's edited. Because they've done multiple takes and they've had time to review this and say, I want to use this take versus that take. And I mean, they got to have different versions of a movie anyway, just because they haven't TV edit. They got to have a different cut in case, the ratings board hates what they see, or it tests poorly with a, audience test screening. They have different versions of every movie. Sometimes they have a personal version, which is way more sick than the audience international cut. But I think it's just more just whatever edits they're using, because edits can really break a movie. Like, an actor is good, but they used one bad line reading in an otherwise well done acted movie. So it's like, same thing with the torture scene. Is like, if you're going to show that, I look at it like a car chase effect. If I take it out and virtually the movie is the same, then it's gratuitous.
Yeah.
If someone is torturing a terrorist, you can either not show it, or you can imply it. Like, I hear a gunshot and is like, okay, I know they committed a crime,
Right.
but they didn't show it in detail, so it's clearly not trying to be exploitation. This is not an NRA ad.
So with action movies, I feel like the idea that there's good guys and bad guys is super important, and the good guy should win and stay alive, and he should rub it in the bad guy's face that he won. And I like that. I'm just basic person, so.
Basic is fine. I mean, less is more in many ways. I mean, this movie works, I think, because it is, I wouldn't want to say necessarily basic, but it is literally just beginning, middle, and end. Like, the creeper chases them, they learn more about the creature, but still don't know much, and then the creature, fights them, and no, it's all good. And it's half evil ending, half happy ending. I mean, technically not a happy ending, but some of the people survived, some of the people didn't survive.
I think in 3, it was ambiguous to me, because when she says goodbye and he gets on the bus, and you're like, oh God, it's the football players on the bus again. And then they switched to the newspaper articles. I watched it twice, and it didn't say that the kids on the bus got killed, but the goodbye scene was so ominous that I wondered, are they just playing around with the idea of the second one? Or are they going to kill him in the fourth one, if there was a fourth one? Or did they get killed and, that was like, he shouldn't have gone kind of thing? I don't know.
That's a good question. It seems like, to me, based on like the opening death scenes and the return of some of the weapons, I felt like they were kind of doing what they did with later day Phantasm, where they're just giving you more of the same, more of what the audience reacted to. So there's like, okay, they like the
expected, yeah.
Yeah. I think they're kind of going for the eerie ending again, because that's kind of what that's what made the last two a success. So I mean,
nothing pisses me off than if I really like a movie and they screw up the ending. Like, everyone was so high on Extraction on Netflix. Did you watch that?
The what of Extraction?
Extraction with Chris Hemsworth on Netflix.
Oh yeah, you did tell me, but well, yeah.
What the fuck was that ending?
I don't even remember the ending, because I didn't like the.
There's no way the kid could go back to his life, so he should have adopted the kid. But the kid goes back to his life like he didn't just get, kidnapped, like they were going to kill him. Like, how can he just like slide back into his normal life like that? And then they made it look like Chris Hemsworth's character died, but then they kind of show a silhouette of him. It's like, I just invested 2 hours of my life.
Yeah.
You see what happened here?
My sister's a big Hemsworth fan, and she didn't even make it like more than 20 minutes. Me, I already didn't remember much about the plot. All I knew was just predictable in such a way where it just felt like it was barely a movie.
He was doing his John Wick thing.
Yeah, he's totally. Yeah, take him away. This could easily be a Keanu Reeves, Denzel Washington, Liam Neeson movie, but it just felt like it was like a very boring Tony Scott movie. It's just.
Hey, now watch it. I love Tony Scott. Come on.
Yeah, I love Tony Scott too, but it just felt like a very, like, if he had made it on a bad day, and it was that kind of movie. It's like, you got all the fancy editing, and yet I just don't feel like there's much life here. I don't know what's going on here.
I can see that.
And so when you're seeing something on Netflix, it pretty much just is always just, I always feel like half the time that I'm watching a direct-to-video movie. And I liked some of direct-to-video action, but when I know it's Netflix, I know that they've been really cheap. So it...
Okay, all right, we have to disagree there. So you've used the term B-movie a lot. I hate that term because I know that there are movies that don't get the release and don't get the budget, but I don't put that moniker on them because I think that it's all art and it's really not fair. It's like if it didn't get a big budget and it didn't get a big release, it's not automatically a crappy movie. Like, I'm not saying
no,
that, but I'm saying that's like what comes with saying that something's a B movie. It's like somehow less than. There's a lot of really great movies that they never put in the theater.
Well, that's just it. My mother will use the term, and I'm like, no, it doesn't mean it's cheesy or necessarily like a Roger Corman schlockfest. It just means it's a genre picture, and it's.
Oh, okay.
And, well, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, Spielberg refers to as a B movie, and it's like because he's doing a tribute to Treasure of the Sierra Madre, and so that's where I'm trying to use it. It's more of a low budget kind of drive-in kind of movie.
Okay. Saying it's like the look of it.
Just the tone and kind of the plot. And I know a lot of people when they're describing these movies, they're judging it on just the genre or the budget. And I'm just judging it just kind of on the plot. Is like, this is kind of a movie I would see in an Alien kind of knockoff movie.
So you're totally a film guy. I'm just telling you, you're totally a film guy.
All right. Thank you. I mean, I like plenty of stuff on Netflix. I also just find other ones where it's like, yeah, this definitely didn't go to the theater. It's just because one of their CEOs just pissed me off when they were on record as saying they try to get it into as few theaters as possible. It's like, have passion for your work, have it be seen in at least a few theaters instead of applying for all these Oscars and then it didn't even meet a single screen.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try
They must be destroyed on sight.
the new Podcast Cure-All? Sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of
They must be destroyed on sight.
as needed and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Hey, I heard you like movies.
I heard you like to hustle.
I heard you like podcasts.
Well, guess what?
There's a podcast for you out there called The Home Video Hustle.
Damn right.
Every Friday, we talk about whatever movie PJ picks out the bag. What does that mean? Every Wednesday on our YouTube page, I put a bunch of movies in a bag, and PJ picks one out at random. And then we just watch it. We talk about it for maybe like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever we feel like doing, wherever the conversation leads us.
But do we actually talk about the movie?
Most of the time. Tangents galore.
Yes.
So believe me, we may be a movie podcast, but it's not always about movies. We might talk about video games,
Music.
Yeah, that's the big one. Music. Sometimes we might get a little bit of politicalness in there.
Yes.
Sometimes we may just, we know what we like to do. We like to tell stories, PJ.
Yes.
I am the master storyteller
Yes.
of the podcast realm. Undefeated. So if you like to hear about movies, video games, whatever foolishness comes to our mind, the most random stuff you could think of, check out the Home Video Hustle. You can find us on the Stitchers,
Yes.
the Google Play,
Yes.
Apple Podcasts,
What else?
Podbean,
What else?
Podcast Addict,
Goddamn.
all that. Ain't no reason you can't get your hustle on. We everywhere, worldwide, baby.
Hustle, mother. hustle.
Hey, we can't cuss in the promo, PJ.
Ah.
We gotta be family friendly. There may be podcasts out there that don't want his hair to say
Ah. Ah.
all
Yeah.
that good fun stuff.
Well, you.
Yeah. don't run the listeners away, PJ.
Ah, I'm sorry.
But this is going kind of long.
Yes.
So we'll end this and say, hey, check out the Home Video Hustle every Friday on all the various podcast outlets. Peace.
Peace.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. And while Witch didn't make it to the top of the world, he did make the Gangs of Hollywood podcast. So join the gang and enjoy a movie review podcast about movie gangs, gangsters, mobsters, and the mayhem they cause. You can find GOH Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GOH Pod at www.gohpod.com, as well as your favorite podcast listening app. And remember, say hello to your little friend for me.
If you take two old punk rockers who are past their prime, put them in front of a movie screen, and give them a podcast, what do you get? Cinema Punks. Cinepunks. It's the mixtape of movies.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, Prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of her.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history
up.
all popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was
How
going to be
did
a
you
rough
watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
It's time, let's check our cue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. With the one last plot holes and gratuitous movies. It's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy. At eilfm.podbean.com.
We now continue with our program.
So I defer to your knowledge because as a film person, I realize that you have a big breadth of knowledge, and I'm just focused on action movies because that's all I care about.
Well,
but one
you
perk
have a good knowledge on action movies. That's why I invited you in the first place, because, I mean, you are just layering into why do they come on TV the most? Why are they the highest selling movies each year? Because much like comedy, they can be well made. It's just they have an infamous nature, if not among critics, then just among people who remember more bad ones versus good ones.
Okay, so the bad ones that everyone complains about are the best ones. what they're complaining about is what makes them the best ones. The cheesy one-liner, that's what we live for.
Cheesy
know?
one-liners and
You can't
I
have
mean-
an action movie without that.
well, and you can't tell me that there isn't at least one or two a dozen movies that more or less, there's the so bad they're good movies too. So it's just like, okay. I mean,
All right, so I have a list of essentials.
please.
And you don't have to have all of them, but you have to have most of them. And I have a script that I developed based on the breakdown from All Out of Bubblegum, which I thought was hilarious.
Woo!
And absolutely so much fun. But what I was going to say about having an action movie website, one of the perks is that people send me movies and they want to know what I think of them. And since I'm made the website to promote the genre and I try to be positive, I try to remove my opinion, which is really, really hard because I'm and I have no life and I want to say what I think, but at the same time, I just want to talk about what's there, not what I bring to it. But they send me movies and then they ask me. So there was one movie that I got and I watched it and I really liked it, but I didn't like two things. And it was the hardest thing I ever had to do because I decided that I couldn't just be positive. I had to give my honest opinion. And so I told the guy, I said, it's a fight movie and the fights are awesome, but the first fight is terribly filmed. And he's like, I know. I go, but people aren't going to get past the first fight. Like that speaks. You should have your best fight first. So they keep watching, that was really hard. And then the way he treated the women characters, that's been a big thing for me in movies, especially action movies, because I don't relate to the two-dimensional bimbos in the movies. I relate to the hero. And a lot of girls do. There's a lot of women who aren't bimbos, who are strong, who are people first. And I'm just waiting for the day that they have those kind of roles for women. And there are more strong women now. So I'm just waiting for the physically strong woman. I don't know how they're going to do the role. I saw it work in Vasquez and Aliens because she was just a badass and she was really cool and she could handle the big gun. But it'll get comedic if she's too big. You know what I mean? It'll just be like a joke.
Exactly. Because, I mean, what is she doing when she's not ass kicking? They're doing locker room talk. So, I mean.
If you look at the second time they showed the women, it must have been in Black Panther, from Wonder Woman's island. The costumes were a lot different. They are buff as hell. And they don't look skinny like she does.
Right.
Anyway.
I think that was the shot of Patty Jenkins to just show is like, okay, none of them are at all the same. I mean, they're not even, it's not just the height or attitude. They all got different kinds of muscles. Some of them are kind of muscular fat. Some of them are just, skinny fat, muscular. And like you say, you want the more natural, everyday looking, the better. I want the everyday person. I'm fine with a hero who's having trouble breathing or gets asthma. That's cool. That's awesome.
I want the Arnold Schwarzenegger of women. I don't know how we're going to get to it, but there are power lifters, and I don't know what kind of role she could play. But I'm waiting to see that.
It's a very good question. I think maybe the close you could probably get stunt woman and actress Spice Williams Crosby.
Let me look.
She's been on everything, Star Trek, every other.
She a gladiator? Oh, I don't know.
Maybe, but she was just one of those. She was that muscular gal, and she did some wrestling action movies, and she guest star. Everyone realized she could act, so she was always guest starring on a few different comedy shows. But I always thought,
you don't mind me saying?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
China. Before she died, I thought she was going to do something. The wrestler?
Yeah, I was surprised. And as mainstream as I saw her kind of be was, guest starring on stuff like Whose Line?
Yeah.
So, hell, speaking of that, I would actually like to see that. I would pay to see half the cast of Whose Line Is It Anyway, or any of these other comedians just be in an action movie. because I knew they could play it off well. They wouldn't take it seriously, and a lot of comedians are better actors than a lot of people like to give them credit for. It's just that because they do stupid movies where there's poop humor and all that they get typecast, much like the action stars. So,
I mean, Gina was a gladiator.
So there you go. Gina could try it. Some of these horror guys who have only just been the guy in the suit could totally pull off an action movie.
So
even if their acting wasn't there.
Why did they cast? Hold on. Now I can't remember his name because that's what happens. You know, Twilight Batman. What's his name?
Robert Pattinson.
What the hell? He's a freaking skeleton. But then so was Chris Hemsworth before Thor. At least he beefed up a little bit. But Thor's like the biggest guy in the world. How do you not get a wrestler for that? Don't start me.
I mean, everyone's got their limit. Like you say, there are movies where it's like the person's too skinny to be believable. I think it really honestly just comes down to the casting and what kind of a suit they're in. I'm not talking like a plastic suit. I think
it's ridiculous. It's twice as big as him.
Something. And I mean, it really, I think it comes not only down to the casting, but also the wardrobe people, what they're telling them instead of just telling them stuff last minute that they need to do. Because there are half of these movies you watch and you just feel like you're watching either dailies that ended up and are just padded there for the runtime, and others that are just the reshoots in Atlanta.
Michael Keaton would be a good Batman, but he was awesome.
Exactly, and some of it is just they should just keep it all a secret because they're doing it for hype, and they should be just like the creatures in movies like these, where they don't tell them what you're in for. That's why they're a surprise. If get a 200 million people to see the newest Christopher Nolan movie without telling them what it's even about, then you can definitely do it for all these other movies and just build up the hype. Hey, you liked their last movie. Oh, you're really going to like this movie.
Yeah, I don't see why they don't think that'll work. Because word of mouth is tremendous. And you can't create word of mouth if you give everything away in the freaking trailer.
It really helps. It really does help. And they don't. When I talked to Chaos, when he was talking about, the director of Talking to Ballistic X versus Sever and the newest One Night in Bangkok with Mark Dacascos, he was talking about how they did it back then and they're still doing it now, where basically they're always negotiating, then renegotiating based on, they try to get a big name star, and then once their net worth is going off based on how their last movie did, it just creates all other sorts of mayhem. So that's part of all the whole, development hell. And so then he just worded it to me, what a shitty way to make a movie. But too bad that's how they do it. And it's just like, they shouldn't do it that way. They should just
treat it like art, I think.
Treat it like art. I mean, I miss the early days of Forum. I mean, I go on, Ultimate Dolph. His fans are very supportive, and the filmmakers interact a lot with the various people on there. So that all and said and done that's even better than even going to a convention. That is telling a lot of people, hey, we support each other. We're there for each other. We're open to criticisms. Sometimes the filmmakers there will come on there and saying, loved working with Dolph. The movie did not turn out well for reasons I cannot disclose, yada, yada. But that's fun. That's great. And we should have more of that instead of, well, how did it score on Rotten Tomatoes, or who's in it? Have I seen their work? Oh, I hated those last 5 movies. Surely there's no way this movie will be good.
Right.
I look at the filmmakers even as mercenaries, because that's what they are most of the time. Most of them are indie darlings, and then people like Disney hire them, and they go from there to, get their foot in the door doing a movie that an audience will love. I also think they need to just stop hiring people who aren't fond of whatever movie they're doing. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes they can make a good movie if without necessarily being fond of the genre, because they're worried about the story making sense and the actors getting along and the shots being good. So
sometimes the collaboration brings out something.
yeah, they find out of something they didn't know. It's like, well, I actually do like this genre. It's just I haven't been exposed to ones that I like.
Yeah, sometimes the producers know what the end result will be.
Totally.
Maybe the person themselves doesn't know, but they see something in their style that they think will work. I can't think of an example right now, but I know exactly what you're saying.
Here's an example. What's his name? Kenneth Omar or whoever who did Return of the Living Dead. Wasn't a horror fan, but he did a really good job on it. Because he brought out a lot of the comedy in those movies. And he got all the actors comfortable, and I think that's why it was a success. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It could have also just been the dominoes were ready to fall the way they fell, and
fate.
Fate. Yeah. No fate but what we make. Sarah Connor. So what would happen if Arnold had been the creeper in this and Linda Hamilton had been the sister in this movie? Would you have seen it?
You know, I'm a big lover of the unknown, because it's rare that they don't bring who they are to it. I can't remember the name of the movie, but Bruce Willis had a trailer. Hold on, let me see. Where they said, oh, it's the jackal. His face is unrecognizable.
Oh yeah, the jackal.
Every time they said I would die laughing. I'm like, it's Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
So if they had an unknown and they made him up differently, and we weren't used to seeing his face, it wouldn't have been so fucking hilarious.
Yeah, well, I also think a lot of it is they hire too many people to rewrite these. Not the case with these movies. These movies, they pretty much were very closed down and just welcome to just let them do what they wanted to do. And every other movie seems to just, there's like 7 uncredited rewrites. And so that's why the movie isn't its best, because it's just been messed with so many times to where even the actors refuse to say much about it other than what character they're playing. Because, I mean, that's all the work they have to do. They do the character backstory, which they know in their heart what they think the character is. And so that's why they occasionally will argue with the director, because everyone's got a different vision. And truth be told, if everyone just stops second guessing each other and just trying just different takes so they spare themselves all these reshoots, I think a lot more would get done, instead of let's see what money we can cut. Oh, let's see what has-been we can get to be in this movie.
Right.
I mean, you're saying the unknowns. I think the unknowns definitely play a better part, because once someone becomes a star, everyone likes to overuse the same people. And, you know, by the time they're perfect for a role that actually would work for them, you know, they're too old for it, or they aren't interested in playing those kind of roles anymore. And so, I mean, these guys were all very young in their career. The Jonathan Brink guy, who's also from Texas, who plays the creature, he pretty much stuck to doing just other minor roles.
Did you watch the audition? His audition part?
I haven't. Is that worth seeing?
Oh my god, it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. Sylvester Stallone gave a new director a chance to do the Expendables 3. So he went from Red Hill. Have you seen Red Hill?
Yes, I have. I'm a big fan of
Right.
what's his name?
Patrick Hughes.
Yes, Patrick Hughes, who did Hitman's Bodyguard and
Yeah.
has a few other things in development. I did see that in theaters, Hitman's Bodyguard, and he had a great, I think as part of AMC, he was talking to the audience, is like, thank you for coming out, and in the words of Samuel L. Jackson, enjoy the motherfucking movie. He was a hoot. He was funny. And so since I was already familiar with the special features on Expendables 3, I'm like, oh, this is icing on the cake. This is great. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, so the audition for the director.
For the Creeper.
Oh, the creep. You're saying that was similar to Expendables?
No, I'm just saying it was bizarre.
Oh, okay. Sorry. It was like that. Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Are you going to watch it? Otherwise, I'll tell you. If you're going to watch it, I'm not going to tell you. You can watch it.
I mean, I don't know what else. Is this on the DVD or Blu-ray?
No, it's on YouTube.
Oh, okay. I'll look it up. I mean.
Okay. I won't tell you then what he does. They asked him to do that, but oh my God.
Yeah. Is it as creepy as
Yes.
Michael? Okay.
Whatever you asked, yes.
Whatever they throw. I'm looking at it now. Oh my God. Jonathan Breck. Why is the sound off? All right. Boom.
You don't need the sound. It's just so creepy.
Oh my God. It is exactly what I thought it was.
What the hell? The sound is good though.
Oh my God. It's great. It's great.
Yeah. So he wanted someone else, but after this guy auditioned, he picked him.
Jesus.
He wrote it for someone else. I forget who. I saw that somewhere.
I don't see who else could be.
Right?
Damn it! Now I'm getting a pedophile feel from this. God damn it! I cannot escape that.
That's a compliment that you can't see anyone else as it, especially since he has on so much makeup and you have no idea what he looks like.
Exactly. I was getting a vibe from Michael Chiklis's audition for The Shield.
Michael Chiklis, huh?
Yeah. Well, and that was another testament because they did not want when Clark Johnson, who later went on to do other awesome shows like Homeland and The Wire, he was casting, shooting the pilot, and they instantly told him, yeah, that guy from the comics is auditioning. And he said, oh, no fucking way I'm watching that audition, Because you had to remember at that time, Chiklis had been on a crappy sitcom and no one really knew what else he had done besides, Seinfeld and a few Family Guy voiceovers. And, finally the other writers and producers tell him, please watch this. It's not going to rock your butt. It's not going to ruin your day. And he watches it and he's like, I'm wrong. We have to cast this guy. Right. So I think it is just actors, depending on how they want to apply. I mean, Chiklis was already ignoring his agent's advice. He had gone to the gym, shaved his head, lost weight. So there you go. However actors want to apply themselves, that's what you get. I mean, that's why we have other recent people like Adam Driver. We have some other people who are just Joel Edgerton, I think, is one who I'm always amazed by because you're never going to be able to do an impression of him because he's different in literally every role he does.
He's amazing. And who would think that he has a thick accent?
Exactly. And
like he's not
American. There's that. And his brother Nash is a producer, but no one would have thought that because of the stuntman prejudice. Everyone thought, oh, he's just a guy who jumps off motorcycles and gets beat up in The Matrix. And I was like, no, he's more than that.
So I looked him up and I totally went to Joel Kinnaman when you said that. Because
he's the first one of them. He's one of the first Joels that comes up. Yeah. Kinnaman, I'm actually impressed by too, and a lot of other people want to just throw him under the bus just because they didn't like him in whatever movie. I'm just like, okay.
Edgerton, I haven't liked the characters he's played, and so that rubs off on an actor to me.
That's fair too. I always kind of got that way with every other person who was always basically playing a rapist or motorcyclist. I just is like, okay, I'm sorry, that's just all I see you as. No offense. It's right. Just because you're in this movie, I don't know that you're necessarily adding more to it. Now, I did make an exception. There were, all these other big horror icons. That I always gave them an extra benefit of the doubt because they stole the show as the villain, like Michael Ironside or Nick Chinlin or Michael Massey, Michael Wincott, so many Michaels, but just A lot of those guys I would see is like, okay, I can forgive the fact that you're playing an absolute scum of the earth because you're going through the typecast. You're leaving your mark, so to speak. You're and puncturing various other holes in it for extra effort, and that's pretty cool. So
one Halloween, I got hit by a taxi.
Oh fuck!
And the driver's name was Michael Myers.
Oh.
It was
Sure he wasn't a rampaging taxi maniac. Oh man, are you okay from that, or?
Yeah, I was in the car with a friend, and we just looked at each other like, "What's going to happen today? Should we go home?" Funny.
Jesus. What's so? I mean, this genre is always interesting in the hits and misses of how it just takes a while for everyone to just kind of resonate, for lack of a better word. And I think both these movies, they were the kind of movie they were a hit because they were still kind of embracing every kind of formula since the 70s. Go with an unusual premise, freak people out, have enough TV ads, and kind of have various genre elements. So as a result, the movie's listing is going to vary each time it's on IMDb. One year it's going to be in horror, one year it's going to be in the mystery section, one year it's going to be in action horror, so
because they let people change them.
Right, they're going to be changed anyway because
things off of action all the time because it's not action. And neither of these, all of them, is horror thriller or horror mystery.
Totally. And I mean, some people like to rely on what the filmmaker's saying. I mean, I'll give you an example. Silence of the Lambs is stated by, like, IMDb would refuse to let people change it to horror. They were like, it's a mystery because that's what the filmmaker intended. But most people have made the argument that it's also a horror movie. So you got a predicament there. Who's more right?
They just go in and change it.
Yeah, let's just say it's all of the above.
Right? You have to put a reason, but they let you do it.
I once said Game of Thrones is porn, but other people will disagree on that.
Okay.
I don't mean that as a negative. I'm just saying it's got some softcore moments.
So did Spartacus. I mean, nudity and
yeah,
cursing, all
exactly.
But Spartacus is so much better to me. I couldn't get into Game of Thrones. I thought it was some of the worst dialogue I have ever heard.
You're not alone in that. Game of Thrones was one of those. I was getting into it, and then as I keep going on, I realized I've wasted 8 years of my life on this shit. And everyone's saying you should give it more of a chance. And it's like, I was hating it already before the ending. That everyone's like, it was bad before the ending. And like you say, the dialogue, there's really nothing to it except profanity and the actors taking it away. So I think, for lack of a better word, I think a lot of people were more into it because of the books and that it reminded them of some cheap Roger Corman type stuff like Deathstalker or any other Beastmaster Conan knockoff,
I guess.
But like you say, Spartacus is kind of just a throwback, and it manages to have all these over-the-top elements without feeling trashy. Because, I mean, Sam Raimi and his companies are overseeing it, and all the other people are used to being on different types of productions and different types of qualities, so I think that's why it worked. And Stars was just the perfect kind. I mean, by that time, the former head of HBO had taken it over, and so we were having shows like Black Sails and Power.
That's trash too. Sorry, I really wanted to love that. As a woman, I fucking hate it. Sorry, I hate it.
Oh, which one?
Black Sails.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, it's a Michael Bay show. I mean,
it's total trash. Spartacus had great fight scenes, and despite the fact that the lead actor died, how tragic was that? The guy who filled in did a hell of a job.
They did a good job casting the new guy, and they also just had enough backstory for all the other, characters, to just have us root for their comeuppance every week. And so I think that, and Peter Minsaw,
It was a lot like wrestling where you pick a character.
wrestling is definitely a good comparison because it's one of those, you would see the ads for it and maybe clips from it and you're like, oh, what the fuck are you making me watch? But you actually sit down and watch it and it's like, okay, everybody's just making a big deal out of the content, but the material is there. The content is delivering, but the material is also just really just brutal fun. It's just can't look away. And he actually kills a perfect 100, and that's just from one season. I don't even remember what else he kills in the remainder of the seasons, but I gotta just go back. And that's the other thing too. I think these movies also, all these horror movies that we've discussed tonight also make use of their body count. They make sure the kills matter. And I think it's also a variety of kills. I miss that. Now, when I see a typical action movie or slasher, they can't even bother to change up the fights.
5 on Final Destination. Oh my God.
Yeah, they're going full blown because they're like, this is our final,
There's at least 3 kills that are so over the top. It's insane.
Totally. And everyone thought there's no way they can come up with anything. It's like, no, give them credit. They did try.
I walked across the San Francisco Bay Bridge and it moves so much. And it was a freezing cold day and traffic, of course, doesn't stop, but there's like a sidewalk part.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It is one of a kind.
My friend told me, stop, I want to take a picture. And I'm standing there and I'm thinking, this thing is moving too much. And I held on to like one of those giant cables and you could feel the vibration like crazy. So when I got that scene where the bridge fell apart, it just took me right back there. And I thought,
oh, shit.
It's just hanging there. And they did such an awesome job of breaking it into pieces and having it fall. It looked like that old video of the bridge that started swaying in the wind. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, they would play it on every other PBS documentary or every other sitcom for comedic effect. And I'm like, I wanted to see where the original video of that is.
Yeah.
It's from whatever earthquake happened at whatever older period. But yeah, like you say, it feels like there's an earthquake no matter what time it is. And I get that San Francisco used to have tons of earthquakes, but at the same time, it's like, it just feels like there always is. There's just whatever tectonic plates in the ocean is just messing with the bridge.
That vintage one, they didn't construct it properly and high winds set it in motion and they couldn't stop it. And it just tore itself apart. Crazy. Anyway. Are you still there?
Brave enough to rebuild. Yeah, it's just that. Sorry.
No, you went off for a second.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah. I think it's my connection, actually. I think I was messing with the ad blocker and it decided to reload on me. I was just commenting on your point, how you said that, the shaking is just never nonstop. And I think it's, how would you find anyone who's just brave enough to rebuild it? It's a work of art. And at the same time, the intrigue and the freakiness of it kind of, I don't know. Why would you want to take it away? You could be either like Christopher Walken in A View to a Kill and fall to your death there and be like, I'm dying in the most beautiful place ever.
It was weird to me when they showed how it played out and then they go back in time and you know what's coming. And then he says, like, get off the bus, the bridge is going to collapse. And they all start running. They never run fast enough in these movies.
No. Why would they?
And then when they get off the bridge, they just stand like right next to it and watch. Like, help me. What are you stopping there for? Like things could hit you. It's so frustrating to watch some of these things. They're so stupid in horror movies. They're so stupid.
I think that's what was a turnoff for many of these movies. Some of the Final Destinations do suffer from some bad dialogue and people, but I think at the same time they were playing to the cliches of the genre, and that's why a lot of people liked it.
A Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, Cabin in the Woods, which is a satire of that.
Yeah.
Oh man. So finishing this off, if you had to rank these, I guess.
Oh, all of them, or just the 2 series?
Let's start with the series and then go from there, I guess. So Final Destination, I guess part 2 and 5 resonate the most.
Yes. Part 2, I think, is a 10. I love that movie so much. You don't understand. But Stacey, I know it's high, but it's just a personal favorite.
Oh no, that's fine. I know many people who, the people I was doing the horror cast with, which I know you were on that same show, aren't fond of those movies, and it's like, well, I think at least, I mean, I see that a lot of people who don't like what's in those movies, I can't stand in some of the other movies like Friday and 13th and Halloween sequels and even Nightmare, some of the lesser ones. So, I mean, these ones, I think they're more of a have fun, relax, It's not earth-shattering, but it is in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm giving it totally because of David R. Ellis and that crash scene. I mean, it set a standard to me. And
he said he did big casting on AJ Cook, who, prior to that had been doing some horror movies, but I definitely do remember her the most from this movie.
I would give 5 a 9 because I haven't seen anything as good in terms of the gnarly kills. Just like the other night, I gave a 9 to Bram Stoker's Dracula for creativity. I tend to score high when I really like something, so
it's fine. I'm always sarcastic with the ratings, so I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's also what you're feeling in the moment. Sometimes everybody wants to be a snob. Oh, but will you ever remember this and that? And it's like, yeah, well, I'm talking about it now, so clearly it means a lot. It's enough for us to do an episode about. So, fuck.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since it was made, and I still love it just as much. I own it. I've watched it.
Boom, shakalala. That's good enough. Oh, so yeah, 1 and 4 you can check out. 1, I didn't always feel like the ending was as tight, but I still overall thought it was a respectable return to just trying out something different instead of trying to be a Scream knockoff. So it still deserves points.
Yeah.
Free you can watch, but you're really not missing anything, in my opinion. I mean,
I agree.
So then, the Creeper franchise. 2, I guess we're scoring higher. Or 1 is scoring higher, because I mean, I had no issue with either one, but I know everyone likes to have a difference of opinion on each one.
Yeah. 3, I would give a 7. I don't know.
I still need to rewatch it again. I kind of rewatched parts of the the first 2 for this review, but Free I just kind of saw when it was rerunning on Sci-Fi after it already premiered, and I was just kind of like, okay. I didn't care about liking or hating it. I was just kind of like, okay, they got a lot of effects back. The plot lost me. So
I gave 2 a 10,
Woo!
1 a 9, and an old score in IMDb I had given 3 and 8. Now I'm saying 7. So I just rewatched it.
Well, it definitely made a difference in the theater. I can believe you on that. I mean, to see it, was there a Q&A at the premiere of Part 3?
No. Mm-mm.
And so they might have sold way more had they kind of pulled a Texas theater and just had a Q&A with the filmmaker or one of the stars.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows?
The actor that I thought was so good in 2, I haven't seen him do much of anything since then. So
That's a good point. A lot of those actors, I couldn't find much on them. It's like they would have a guest star appearance on some hit Fox or CBS show, and then poof, and I'm like, what the hell happened?
Well, this guy's name is unusual. It's Gary Kayi Mutambirwa.
Oh yeah, there were a bunch of weird names in the end credits. I'm like, oh.
I thought he was excellent. The one that the creeper really wanted to kill, and he ended up living.
Yes, well, see, and I think that's also why a lot of people like it. There's a lot of ironies in there, just like there's the ironies of who you expect to die with Final Destination, although it takes a few viewings to remember each one. Is like with Jeepers Creepers, it's all on display, and it's having so much fun doing said fun that it just sticks out a little more.
Yeah, there's racist issues in 2, which are interesting in today's times.
Yeah, doesn't one of the sheriffs say some fucked up shit, or was there? I knew there was some trash talking on the bus. I think.
Yeah.
That was definitely offensive by today's standard.
Yeah, he got coming to him, but it's Florida. It's the middle of
Jeez. So this is a documentary. Jeez. That's how the Smokey and the Bandit movies were on TV, and my family was watching them and having fun with them, and at the same time, like, my mother was like, I want to fucking kill Jackie Gleason right now. It was like, and so then it kind of just went back to what we were talking before. It's just like how it does make me wonder how many of those guys were in on the joke and how much of it was just bigotry and it just showed and everyone forgot about it because they loved, Smokey and the Bandit. So
right.
And it was like the rest of the movie didn't matter. Just, we're here for the romance and the car chases. So
so much is cringeworthy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if I were to rewatch other comedies, I mean, I get a John Hughes moment where it's like, yeah, you can't do that today. You shouldn't have even done it in the first place, but you definitely can't do it now.
Right?
I'm more than just I can't handle misogynist. I also just can't handle. I gotta feel like if I'm gonna watch a show about a character who's unethical, I gotta feel like something different is gonna happen. I gotta even feel like they might even do a more ballsy move. Like the person who's the protagonist might not even make it to the end of the season. I gotta feel like these people are trying to do something more than just be a mafia. So same thing with the creatures. I think everyone felt like the creatures and even death in Final Destination. I felt like it was just clear. I vaguely recall watching the trailers. I barely saw any of them. Maybe a home video trailer, and it didn't show much. So that's why I went into it spoiler free. But I think everyone just realized it was going to be a spectacle we're seeing on the theater, and because the uncertainty. Well, I've already talked to death about the uncertainty. I think it was also just everyone knew that whatever they went in for, it was going to be more than just a Friday night movie. It was going to be a lot of fun. It just, the fun, the money shot, so to speak, was there. It was all there and just glorious. You knew it wasn't going to be shabby or just a knockoff of anything else, really. I mean,
yeah, I think they were both creative.
I mean, and I'm sure the executives, New Line and MGM respectively, I'm sure that's what they went for, is like, what worked in the past? Okay, let's do that again. And you figure out the story, I'll figure out the marketing. Because like I said before, like the cover of the first Jeepers Creepers, I don't know why, just it reminds me of the original Howling. Just that same kind of distorted coloring, and instead of someone screaming, you just see the creature peeking behind it. But at least it's the same kind of ambition where so there you go. The poster sold.
You mean the coloring of the poster, the creature, or the movie?
Just the coloring on the poster. Like,
Oh, okay.
you know that there's a surprise behind door number one, so to speak. And same thing with Final Destination. You see all these teens, and then you see a skeleton, but it's pretty clear, it's talking heavily about death and cheating death. I'm like, okay, so this isn't a stalker movie. This isn't a, slasher movie, but it's kind of for a similar audience. I should see what this is about.
I see the similarity.
Yeah, I think they just had competent marketing. They had competent filmmakers, and they had, they had a cast of unknowns. Pretty much everybody in this. Devon Sawa, before he was on Nikita, everyone associated with Final Destination. So.
True, except Eileen Brennan.
Oh, true. And then, there's Ali Larder. So then I see her on Heroes. I'm like, isn't she the gal? Yeah, that's right. She's from Final Destination 1 and 2. So. Oh.
It's weird. They'll never live it down.
Jeez. Oh, God. Well, you have conquered, lo and behold. So I'm going to let you plug yourself. Where can we find you on the social medias?
I am at actionmoviefreak.com. I don't do much with Instagram these days, although I recently connected it to Facebook, so maybe I'll do more. Life intervenes. Plus, this year kind of went to hell. But I've really been enjoying the Art of Action, Scott Adkins on YouTube. I love people to watch that. So I'm on Twitter. I mostly complain. But anyway.
That's wonderful. It's been great to finally talk to you and just have you on this episode, just a laid back one. I'm going to try. I hope someone listens to this. I'm pretty much, I have all my episodes done for the year. I'm going to start, again, hopefully I can get this, as a bonus episode in the fall. Worst comes to worst, I'll have this still be, in the springtime. Just have this, premiere then. And I'll keep updating people and tag you in the post when it, appropriate. But yeah,
I think you should file it since I gave you such a hard time about bootlegging.
No, that's a good issue because okay, I'll give you an example. I have my limit too. I was pissed when I saw that Mega Upload was profiteering off of people's downloads of movies. I thought they were an ad-based site like Hulu. So then when I saw that whole scandal, I was like, oh, you motherfuckers, that's not cool. Now, I get that you equate it to all that. I equate piracy to you actually are making a copy of a movie and then you're selling it for cash. That's my rate.
No, you're not paying for your ticket.
Yeah, see, okay, so that's where I vary. I'll give you this. Every movie I own, I saw because I saw online.
Okay, so you went and bought the DVD or whatever, Blu-ray, whatever.
Yeah, I bought the copy afterwards because I knew, okay, this is a great movie. Now, there are some movies where I will go in blind, especially if it's just like there's a special feature, it's an obscure movie. I used to roam all the Entertain Marts. Now I don't anymore because their prices just suck. And just like, I feel like they're becoming the new half-price books with the whole sell back. Why should I sell it back to you for $2 when I know you're going to make $20 off it? So everyone's got their limit. I draw the limit at just don't just leak a movie onto Facebook while it's still in the theaters. Don't better yet, don't spoil the movie. Don't update the Wikipedia while it's out. Don't talk during the movie unless it's a Mystery Science Theater worthy movie.
Yeah, don't give away the ending on Facebook.
Oh my God. I remember my father, he works at a college and he, would talk with a bunch of other clients and other people. and one of them was a total movie geek, would just post about the latest movie happenings, and he and some other coworker were getting into an argument about the movie Gravity, and he just decided to be a wise ass and just say, "Hey, thanks for giving it all away." And these two are going about the merits of it, and he's like, all of us haven't seen it. Well, we don't watch many movies. We wait for HBO or now I'll give my father this. He will see a movie if it's like Godzilla or James Bond, it's got to be something that's like, okay, this is going to be really fucking awesome. I got to go see it. Like Knives Out, my sister was able to convince my parents to go see that. I wish I had seen it on the theater, but I still enjoyed seeing it anyway. It's one of those, I look at it this way. There's some movies I don't care to just see in the theater. I just don't. It's not going to make a difference in terms of my basis of it. Now, there are other movies where it does make a difference, like Apocalypse Now, hated it. See it in a theater during a college seminar, love it. So, I mean, I think it's also a time thing, what age you see it at, what kind of theater you see it at. I mean, maybe even just
a thing.
I mean, well, there's that. A lot of it for me is when I see it, and a lot of times when I get a chance to see a movie, it's a really shitty time. I have to then be able to leave the theater instantly and go to work and all that shit. So my life's a mess. So I think that's why I also just don't enjoy as many movies. I also just everyone wants to go to the theater early. I want to go 20 minutes. Sorry.
Dune. You going to the theater for Dune?
If
That's on Netflix.
If Corona has passed us by, I will give it a chance.
Okay, hold on. Sorry. I think I just opened my mouth stupidly.
No, you made a good point. Will anyone see Dune on opening day? If Corona's passes by, I'll probably give it a chance. If not, I really don't want to risk it.
So, is Dune a theater movie, or is it Netflix? All of a sudden, I'm confused.
For me, it would be both. I would like to see it opening day in a theater, or at least the weekend of. If not, I'd probably wait till Netflix. But
okay, so it is coming to theaters. For some reason, I thought it was a Netflix series. After I said that,
I mean, if anything, they could do what they're doing with The Outpost, where they have it play in select theaters and then be, available to buy or rent on, the
Wouldn't
VOD.
you want to see that on a big screen?
I would prefer, but I mean, if I miss it, I miss it. I mean, I look at it this way. I mean, yes, some are unavoidable. You got to see them in the theater, otherwise it just won't be the same. And others, I just wouldn't get much of a general reaction. I'm very easygoing on cinematography, and I'm not too picky on sound. I know a lot of people are. I'm only picky about it if it just feels like someone recorded it off their iPhone. But it's really only an experience you see on a lot of direct-to-video crap.
The Matrix, when the bullets hit the marble floor, and Jurassic Park, when the T-Rex roars and the water shakes.
Yeah, sound would definitely be vital to those. The best experience I probably had with sound might be, Terminator movies for definitely. The last one I saw in the theater was probably Dark Fate, and then I saw like one or two others, and I can't even remember what they were. Dark Fate was the last one I saw, and it blew me away.
Theater?
Yeah.
Liked it?
I did, although I understand why many don't, and personally, a lot of them, to me, just come off as just sexist. But I know some people legit just didn't like the CGI in it, so it is what it is. I mean, what's your take?
I like them. The thing about the first one was who Arnold was at the time. That's the thing a lot of people don't realize with Predators. The first Predator, the muscles were like a star. We've just seen anyone like him, and it was just so ridiculous that there were all these big guys in a movie, and it was just awesome. The scene where everyone's shooting all at once and you see his bicep from the side. I mean, it was like everyone in the theater was like, oh my God, he's so huge. And we're used to seeing him now, but back then it was like crazy. So the fact that they took him and made him into this machine that would kill people, it was like so over the top that unless you live through it, you don't really appreciate the impact of it. So a lot of people like it for that reason. And we've been waiting to see the war that the machines took over, and they've never given us that. So there's that.
That's a good point, because I mean, everybody, like, when they think of the Terminator, they like to, again, just spoof the lines, and like The Godfather, they just can't get away from the violence. They got to spoof violent moments. Like, the Terminator was also just really just very retro, very, the synchronized score, the
we'd never heard music like that before.
No, the Tech Noir Club.
Us, yeah.
And the fact that he wanted to blend a stalker, and see, I never thought of it much of a slasher because I had limited experience watching those movies at those time. But yeah, it totally was a slasher movie and a sci-fi epic movie. So to have all these horror and action elements and a sci-fi premise,
that's the trifecta: action, horror, sci-fi.
I think, and that's one other thing I noticed. I noticed a lot of people who are very picky about different genres. I mean, they can always handle Tarantino because Tarantino is literally everything.
What do you mean handle?
Well, like they can stand him. Like, I've seen a lot of people who hate action movies, but they like Tarantino because Tarantino has action.
So, do you like Tarantino?
On a good day.
I don't like Tarantino.
That's fine. I still haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I'm not sure I'll like it.
Yeah, I want to see it. Pulp Fiction. Okay, so the title, Pulp Fiction, kind of harkens back to the whole like detective magazine, grindhouse movie thing. So how high was he aiming? This is what I don't get, why everyone's so high on Pulp Fiction. It's one of those movies that it just didn't work for me.
That's fine. I hated it absolutely when I first saw it, and then I thought Sam Jackson was fine, and then I just resaw it, and it's like, okay, so this is a pretentious movie, but it's pretentiousness I can live with. I was more into Reservoir Dogs because it was more of a heist action movie. But
that's a guy movie to me. Like, okay, I'm a girl that likes action movies, but there's still some movies that are guy movies, and that's such a guy movie to me. Like, I could watch that 100 times. I still won't get why guys like that movie so much. It's so much talking. Shut the hell up.
Well, and that is fair. The first thing I saw him by was Kill Bill, and the movie references don't work for that movie at all for me. I'm just like, yada yada yada. I just want to see Lucy Liu curse someone out and you guys fight. That's all I care about.
Plus, I saw those movies he was influenced by, so you copied them. I just
yeah, that
on the back for that.
Well, more or less, Tarantino is one of those. The only thing I can't stand more than how shitty a person he is his fans. So many of his fans only know about certain movies because of what he referenced. And I'm like, you bastards. I knew what movies he was referencing at the time.
I don't get the appeal of Kevin Smith. I've seen the movies. I enjoyed the first 3. But I just don't understand why he has such a following.
I think it's very much like Tarantino. I'll do you one better. What do you think of Paul Thomas Anderson? Phantom Fred, Magnolia.
Okay. So Tom Cruise should have won an Oscar for Magnolia. But let me see, because I can't remember all his films.
I can't stand any of those other. Just, I love Daniel Day-Lewis, but I'm just very bored by There Will Be Blood each time I watch it. I'm just like, it's so unpleasant to me. And I get that it's supposed to be. I'm just like, I've already seen this as The Shining and all these other movies.
So, I'm not sure why I should have heard of him.
Boogie Nights and yeah, all those the Master.
Oh, so like he's not even on my list of directors.
So there you go. And so many people I know swear by him because he still shoots on film. And I'm one of those guys. I don't care what you shoot it with. Please just make sure the sound is good and I can hear what they're saying, and that you're not just doodling around, just feeling very unorganized. And I think that's my problem. A lot of movies I watch now, last few times I've been in the theater, they just don't look theatrical, for lack of a better word. Like the CGI doesn't look finished, and
There's an awful lot of scripts too that aren't finished that get made.
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking this must have been their first movie. I mean, come on, the scripts are so bad.
Well, and exactly. That, like, you read about how every other Will Smith project, like Men in Black Freeze, started shooting without a script. I'm like, you guys should be fired for that.
Yeah.
Were you that desperate to get the funding and get him to say yes? Was his interest really going to change between, I don't know, 2012 and 2014? I mean, actors will say yes if the price is right and the script is good. All you need to do. And it's like they just want to keep, sometimes they want to keep making the movie without another actor. Like, I hear that's why Steve Guttenberg turned down Short Circuit too. He was like, they want to take Ali Sheedy out of the movie. I don't think that's cool, so I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
And of course she's in the sequel, and I'm like, I'm glad, but it's just one of those, is like, that's just bullshit. Why should there be a if or it isn't? Why should there be? Let's do it without the other person, especially if the person. I find that a lot of the supporting characters end up stealing the movie half the time.
Yeah, that's another reason why I like going to see a lot of movies, not just for like what you think is going to be in it, but what's unexpected.
The surprises when they happen and their holy shit moments is like cinema gold.
Yeah, I'm so proud of people who can steal the show with like just a little tiny role.
And unfortunately, I don't know who's going to be the next one. Who is going to be the next scene stealing actor? We should totally do an episode all over that, because I wonder about it. Like, what?
Okay, so sorry?
There was Steve Buscemi, there was Danny Trejo, and now it seems like they're lesser used. They're just in every other video on demand movie. Who's the next guy?
Like Michael Caine, do too many movies and it hurts them.
Right, and now their value has gone down, and now when you see them, it's like, yeah, but they're here, but how much of their heart's in it?
Yeah. There's a thing on my website that it's like part of an action movie, The Whiner. So the really good action movies have an ordinary guy who complains or is scared shitless, who kind of represents how we would feel in that situation.
Yes.
And it just makes it so much funnier. And those roles are often people that never act again, but who stole the show.
I remember your list. I think I visited back in like 2014, and yeah, you had so many just common types, and that's why I knew it was like, okay, so you understand the genre better than any so-called critic, because it doesn't take much to study. And I mean, now it seems like, I wonder what the next type of hero will be, because now we've had an increase in just the anti-hero, and half the time those guys are just plain dicks who happen to be authority figures. Or they're well-meaning, but they have a shitty attitude.
Yeah, it's kind of been done to death now. It definitely needs to go in a different direction, because to me they're dead. It's only the old guys who are still making some, and even Jason Statham and Scott Adkins are getting older now.
Right.
So unless somebody comes up that has a lot of charisma, or it switches to women, which would be really cool, which I don't think is going to happen for 20 years. We're stuck with comic book movies. Don't get me wrong. I grew up in comic books. That's why I'm a graphic designer. I love comics. Just tired of comic book hero movies. How many Batmans can you fucking make? I don't want to see another Batman. Superman's better anyway.
And why does anyone think Squirrel Girl will work? That's a cartoon show. I don't think that would work as a feature movie. I remember Anna Kendrick was rumored to be part of that, and I was like, okay. So it's a kids movie.
Be a different generation that likes it. I don't know.
What did you think of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie? I take it back. That was the last movie that was the last movie I saw. That was at a drive-in, first drive-in experience, and
sorry, Jim Carrey was in it. I'm like, I'm out.
Okay.
He doesn't. Jim Carrey, but
he doesn't do too bad. Everybody, there's just a sense of fun of it. Like every other movie seemed to kind of want to be like the He-Man movie or even Hellraiser Free, and I like Hellraiser Free, but I'm just giving an example of whenever there's something and you want to make it relatable, we got to have the character come to the real world. And it's like, why don't you just adapt the comic book instead of introducing all these characters who aren't in the movie? And I thought that's what made Sonic work, because I knew a lot of people who were seeing it, and they weren't necessarily big gamers, but they had grown up with the cartoon shows.
Yeah.
And we took my sister to that for an encore screening because, it was her birthday, and all of us really enjoyed it. Parents, everybody. And I think it's just because it didn't oversaturate itself. It just went straight to the fun. It literally tells you everything you need to know about the world, how the rings work. And then the rest of it is just shit hitting the fan and the next punchline and fight scene. I'm like, perfect. That's how you do it. Instead of oversaturate and, I don't know, just feel random. And that says a lot because of how, they weren't taking note from the Japanese company that owned it. It's just like, you should take note because the animation is not good.
Did you see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?
I need to. I definitely know the animation in that got some awards.
That's a big screen movie. That was really good. And it was a really cute movie too, like the plot and the characters. It was good. It was really good. It was surprisingly good. Like everyone loved it good.
That's a good point. I meant to see it. Unfortunately, the last Spider-Man I saw was Amazing Part 2.
Spider-Man Homecoming is really good. Michael Keaton steals the show in that. He's really good.
That's what they're saying, and the only downfall was they ended on a cliffhanger. And
if they had made that movie about him instead of about Spider-Man Homecoming, if you watch it, you'll see exactly what I mean. I think it would have been a better movie. It was
what I'm
good movie, though.
That's good. A lot of my friends who typically hate comic book movies really like that one, so I'll take. You're just another reason for reminding me why I need to see it already. God.
Spider-Man Far From Home is shit.
Yeah, I couldn't get into that one at all, and it's a shame because I interviewed Joaquin Woodbine years ago. Really love him as a person. I thought he stole the show in Spencer Confidential as the crooked policeman, and
I like him. He was in The Rock.
Yes, The Rock. I watched Sniper 2 and Dead Presidents many times on cable. He just was always one of those, that guy. And he was in Riddick, and just a very nice dude. And I see him in Home. And
You're right, he was in Riddick. I love that movie.
Totally.
Wait.
And, he's in Riddick. He's one of the mercs. He's like I call him the wall kill.
Not Riddick. Not the latest one with the dog. That was 2 movies. It was the movie with the dog, which was good, and then the other half.
Wait.
Didn't like.
There's a dog movie called Riddick?
No, the movie Riddick from 2013. He
Yeah.
has a dog with him in the first half.
Oh, okay.
It tames that dog wolf thing on the planet. That's a good.
That's right. I totally forgot about that.
People come into it. In the other half, it's crap. So when you said that, like I connected it, but I was thinking of Pitch Black. I don't know why, but he wasn't in.
Well, because that's because it was he's like on the same planet as Pitch Black, but yeah. Oh.
Anyway, sorry, I cut you off.
No, all good.
Bad habit I have.
Well, I hope they can make the next Riddick sooner or later.
Yeah, I like Riddick a lot. I like movies that take you to another world, like where all the costumes and everything is just super impressive. Like the opening of the Chronicles of Riddick to me is as good as the opening of Manhattan.
Oh, that's quite something.
I know, right?
I'll give you that. I don't even remember the opening of Manhattan.
Oh, it's got I think it's Rhapsody in Blue. Am I wrong?
Oh, there you go.
It's like dubbed over, and then the music with black and white of the skyscrapers. It's not like the very, very beginning, but it's a few minutes in.
Okay.
If you put it on YouTube, it'll probably be the song. But honestly, it's like one of the best openings of a movie ever.
Openings mean a lot. And I mean, when it's a sci-fi movie, I think everybody likes to be all snobby about how the plots are. And it's like, the plots can be forgiven if at least the visuals tell the story. Now, if it's supposed to be mindless, then make that clear. Okay, this is, blockbuster fodder that you turn your brain off for. But I think everybody just likes to spend, especially about sci-fi, just spend so much time bitching about it and not explain what they would do differently. It's like, you have to remember, someone did come up with a script for this, and then someone either goofed up in the wardrobe department or effects, or the actors just weren't used to being on a green screen for 6 months.
Yeah.
Something happened. Some disconnect was there, and the editor just couldn't hide it. So, I mean, when I was doing extra work on Queen of the South, I knew people who had worked on the last Fantastic Four they made, and they remarked, "Oh, the stuff we shot was good. None of it recognizable in the final cut, yada yada." Miles Teller, he was, spending too much time refusing to do everything the director, who was high as a kite, was asking him to do. It's like, Jesus. So you just had nothing to work with, is what you're telling me, even though you had all the talent there.
Yeah, I think movies that work with that look, the person had a vision. And then I wonder how many times, because unless you see the storyboards, I guess you don't know. Well, for example, Mad Max Fury Road. How many people have a vision like that? Talk about creating another world with the look and the costumes and everything. But that was all him. So those are the ones I really like the most.
Really? I figure in post-apocalyptic stuff, I mean, I think because everyone's been ripping each other off so much, it's hard to... Because post-apocalyptic, I think, is interesting because you have to kind of figure out how are we going to show that everyone has virtually nothing without, and still just put a lot of effort into the look, what everyone wears, justify how they act to each other.
Right.
Oh, I mean, are they going to wear chainmail and all be dressed up as knights like a Albert Pion movie, or are they going to look like every other bastard child from Battlefield Earth or Waterworld?
Right. Well, a few movies leave their mark, like Blade Runner and like Alien, because, and like 2010. So 2010, A Space Odyssey, everything was like super clinical in how the ship looked and clean and, like you would expect. And then Alien came along and it was like a mining ship and it was grungy and horrible and
right.
Just as cool.
Every one of them has to basically just look like just very unusual in its look and have some kind of purpose. And it seems like if they're not imitating that, then they're imitating something else, like from Babylon 5, Blade Runner, or maybe even, I want to say Fifth Element, kind of. Just some other kind of cyberpunk kind of.
Yeah, another cool creative. Kind of cartoony, though.
I take it you saw Blade Runner 2 in the theater.
Hated it.
Oh.
Hated it. Seriously.
Damn.
It did not do the name justice because so much has happened since the first one. And they didn't do anything futuristic to me that was worthwhile. They had great sets. I'll give them that. But I
Okay.
really think there's going to be like a virtual woman with enormous boobs walking around. What the fuck was that? I just didn't like the sexual aspect of it.
Okay, so you found it a little too sleazy. I was ignoring that. In fact, it didn't bother me for whatever reason. Most movies that do insert that, I just see a perverted producer telling him, "Hey, you got to put that in there." For me, it was just so tragic. My sister was crying at the hologram dying, and my friend who hadn't seen much of the original really liked it. Every other friend I knew hated it because they were expecting Matrix or Mad Max Fury Road. So I think there was a disconnect there. They were expecting Matrix, and it was like, no, it's not a stylish movie.
I was expecting more of a city thing that wasn't, like you said, so post-apocalyptic, but oh shoot, I lost my train of thought.
I think I'll give you this. The beginning of the movie feels too much like it's a homage.
Oh, so in the beginning, there was this possibility that he thought he was a robot, but or a replicant. He was human. And that would have been really interesting if he had discovered he was really human. I was like, whoa, that's trippy.
I will see. It works a little better for me there because I mean, it was intended for that character versus when David Webb Pebbles and Tony and Ridley Scott were arguing over whether Deckard's an alien or robot.
That was clear to me. Like, I don't get why people argue about that. I guess they didn't get it. But that movie's beautiful to me.
He's a human with a robot hand, but everyone likes to say, "Oh, he's a robot" or "He's not a robot," and I'm like, I don't know why we're having this conversation.
When he said about the spiders, I thought, okay, you're obviously a replicant too because you're fixated on that one little thing, like she's fixated on her photo. And then when the guy left the tinfoil unicorn, I was like, hello.
Well, see, that's just it. The creator didn't intend it as that, but the director did, so that's the conflict of interest.
Yeah.
I don't know. Knowing Ridley Scott, he doesn't really have much of a sense of humor.
I still haven't forgiven him for Prometheus.
Oh, exactly. Oh, and then The Martian. He's getting all pissed off when he's at the acceptance speech. It's not really a comedy. It's like, why aren't you just happy that it won? There's lots of funny moments in the movie, to be fair. It's not a direct comedy, but it's a drama. I mean, I don't know.
I didn't see it. Is that with Damon?
Yeah, Matt Damon, Sean Bean, Jessica Chastain, everybody. Yeah, I just say that because it's literally everybody. Did you ever see any of the Wachowskis' recent movies?
I did, and it's funny. Hold on, I can't remember what it was called.
When I saw them team up with J. Michael Straczynski of Babylon 5 on Sense8, I was like, that totally makes sense.
Jupiter Ascending, they tried to do the same story as The Matrix. I was like, they're telling this with a girl. But it was bad. It was so bad. I had such high hopes.
I pretty much just turned my brain off for that one. I was just like, it's just a visual music video.
Yeah.
I really love Cloud Atlas, and I know a lot of people hate that one. I don't
know if I ever saw that. Let me see. Hold on.
Halle Berry, Tom Hanks. It's basically
no.
when I saw it, I was like, this is what makes sense. This makes all my dreams make sense. It's if you think of what's it called when you got reincarnation.
What dreams may come and Cloud Atlas? Yeah, no. Those are like the kind of movie I don't want to see.
Okay, it's all good. There's lots of action in.
Yeah.
But and Tom Hanks, basically everyone gets to play. They're all in different universes, playing different versions of different people, and I don't know. I didn't find it too. I didn't feel like it was an art house movie where you're just going to be like, okay, so it won all the awards. I don't get what it was about. That sucks. So I just, I understood why Roger Ebert gave a 4 out of 4 star to it. I was like, okay, you get me. This is a hard sci-fi fantasy movie. It's kind of like Mortal Engines, if that makes sense.
I would not see that either.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but
It's a Lord of the Rings type movie, so it's not good.
The Shape of Water, I was like, what?
Well, no, I'll give you that. It's unpopular. I can't really do much of Del Toro. And I know a lot of people love him because he has a Lovecraftian kind of horror vibe. I was just like, okay.
Even Pacific Rim, I was like, this is like an 11-year-old made this. It was so bad. She cried. I was like, why did you have her cry?
I remember her when she was in Babel, another movie which had a bunch of unrelated storylines, a bunch of A-listers, depressing as fuck. And she's in there, and I'm like, okay, she's not really much of an actress, first time out, and I see her in that. And like you say, her motivations, her character, so poorly written. And Charlie Hunnam, I'm like, why can't you ditch your accent, dude? I mean, usually it's a plus if it's a Schwarzenegger type person, but now you're like just monotone, just no persona. And Idris Elba, everyone talks about him, but I think he's much like The Rock, where he doesn't always have the best agent, but he makes a movie better. It's just, I mean, if you had to tell me what's the last movie Idris Elba was in, I would say
Cats.
Oh, well, so there you go. I would just draw a line and say, did you ever watch The Wire? Did you ever watch Luther? Those are great shows. You should watch them.
My nephew and I cried laughing at that trailer.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, that movie was dead on arrival, and some people are saying it's the next Batman and Robin. I'm like, I'm sorry. I would much rather make fun of a Joel Schumacher misfire. And I like Schumacher. I miss him dearly, but Batman and Robin is just very stupid and very funny. And Cats, I don't see what you could laugh at, because it's just, the songs are bad. It doesn't even follow the play. It's bad.
5 minutes into the movie we went to see, we were still laughing to the annoyance of everyone around us, because we could not stop laughing. We couldn't breathe.
Oh, that's always the worst. And it's one of those, is like, I hope no one pours their Diet Coke over my head.
My boss loves Idris Elba. I was like, do not watch the Cats trailer. You can never unsee that.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, have you seen anything? Do you do much TV, or is it just too much
TV?
trouble? Yeah.
I stopped watching TV a long time ago. I just watch Netflix and YouTube. Like, I get my news from YouTube.
Oh, nice.
And I saw something on Twitter that I looked up, and I stumbled onto K-pop a long time ago.
Woo!
Now I'm hooked on K-pop and K-dramas, and I'm trying to learn Korean.
Oh, shit.
I just tell you, Koreans are so gifted when it comes to drama. Their shows are so fucking funny, and there's so many plot twists, and the characters are so interesting, and the relationships are so crazy, and they give individuals the right to have their own opinion in situations where you're like, choke them to death, like, and everyone just stands there calmly and lets like this horrible person explain how they feel. And it's just, it's disconnect culturally, but it's so fascinating to me. I don't know, I just fell down the rabbit hole with this. What can I say?
That's something. I mean, it's definitely one of those. I can definitely watch a lot of their movies. Some of their shows, they're definitely more easier to get into. I can't ever make fun of it like I could, say, maybe a telenovela, or maybe just some other Japanese show. And this is like, those shows really do go all the way. They do their best to. They are natural storytellers, and
Yes,
I think the fact that they've launched so many superstars like Rain and that Bayon Lee spy show, what's it called? Iris, which was a big spy show. And it's like Netflix has embraced them, and I think that's why they work.
They just got the first Oscar for a non-English movie. That's pretty awesome. The movie The Villainess, did you see that?
The Villainous. No, I have not. I need to.
That got a 6-minute standing ovation at Cannes. That movie's like a punch to the chest. It's so emotionally packed, but it's an action movie, and John Wick copied part of it for John Wick 3.
Oh yes, I think I did see that briefly.
That's a great compliment. But that movie's epically awesome. They have a lot of good Korean action movies, so.
I know I need them. I've been disappointed at some of the recent Hong Kong output, so I definitely need to catch up on some South Korean.
There's a lot of good lists on the web if you know, like top 12 or top 10 Korean action movies.
Oh yeah, and I always just make sure to just go through everything that's in the year, because more often than not, the heavily promoted movie tends to be a clunker or a disappointment, but everyone's just so hyped up because, oh, my favorite actor's in it. And it's like, but the story was a knockoff of this, classic Sonny Chiba movie. It was High Noon or Die Hard for the time.
Yeah, the movie that they hyped a whole lot that I was a little disappointed in because it was super simplistic was The Great Wall with Matt Damon.
Aw.
That got hyped like crazy. I was like, okay, it's okay.
I had fun. I saw a lot of hate for it, but I guess it worked for me because what's his name? Who did Zhang Yimou, who did Hero and House of Flying Daggers, and I guess I just saw his kind of style, and so I was just like, okay, cool. As long as it's not a whitewashing movie, I'm cool. Yeah, it's not The Conqueror with John Wayne.
Pedro Pascal stole the show in that to me.
He was good. I liked William Dafoe and with doing some crossbow action, and then Andy Lau. So that was funny for me because his character in Infernal Affairs is played by Matt Damon in the remake The Departed.
Yeah, I liked it better the second time I watched it, so maybe I should watch it a third time.
All good. I mean, some movies, I don't know. Like, I think that's my other issue. Some movies I love in the theater, hate on home video, and vice versa. I hate it in the theater, and then my family's watching it at 6 in the morning on Cinemax or Showtime, and I'm like, it's not bad when you put it in that perspective. So I think that's what just happened. I was being overwhelmed by just seeing everything right away, and I was like, how is everyone even coming up with their top 10 list? There's still like 500 other movies that no one's seen. So I just would wait for the hype to die down, and then would either still hate it or be like, I can't believe no one talked about this movie, yada yada. Oh.
That really grew on me was Alien Resurrection.
You have talked many about that movie, from the taxi driver type gunplay to the Winona Ryder's performance to the plot twist. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you talking heavily how that was one of your favorite movies.
Yeah, she made that basketball shot. That's awesome. That's what I began my website with. The fact that she made that over the head shot from behind in real first take. Never played basketball in her life.
That was one of those movies where I would watch it and I was like, I kind of want to see what a movie with all these mercenaries would look like. It's like, outside of just the Alien universe, what if you had to do a movie just about all the mercenaries and the pirates, what would it look like? Would it be like
okay, so Space Pirates is something they have not done that much of, and I would like to see.
That it could work. It's just like everybody's afraid to build their world.
Yeah.
And they can't market it without making it be like Star Wars, Alien, or Star Trek even. And at the same time, so many people don't realize that, those are inspired by plenty of other books and just sci-fi ideas that have yet to be adapted. It's like those could work. It's just I don't know. Everyone seems to think there's still a lot of people that just don't respect sci-fi. Everyone was pissed when CBS All Access had all their stuff on their streaming network. Is like, yeah, because it just won't get good ratings. They never do.
I don't get.
Yeah, and it's like everyone craves them, and yet no one knows how to explain them or criticize them. Sometimes some of them, the plot just isn't going to make sense, so you do have to watch it again. And
That's bad writing. That's bad writing. It should make sense.
Well, and more or less, that's why I don't do many art house movies, because everyone likes to pretty much pull a Blade Runner and just argue, and it's like, no, it does make sense. You're just blowing it out of proportion because it was well shot. You're clearly like a slow moving movie that's just, it is what it is. And I'm just like, don't go around saying it's the best movie of all time if you can't explain it.
Well, okay, so I had a button that said, "Don't judge a book by its movie," because I think that you need to let them stand on their own. And so if I'm going to enjoy a movie and I haven't read the book already, I don't. But if I like the movie, then I'll go and read the book because I want more. And then I don't have to hold the book against the movie, which a lot of people do. Like you're sitting in the theater for Twilight or Harry Potter, and you have to listen to all the idiots around you going, they didn't do this and they didn't do that. And it's not like this. Nobody cares. Just watch the fucking movie. So,
yeah. And then they like to say it has to be exactly like the book, otherwise I'm going to hate it. I'm like, there's some stuff you just cannot adapt. You have to summarize it, because what's great as a book is well, yeah, or just don't make it as a movie. I mean, make it be a TV show. Oh.
Yeah, like don't try if you can't get it all in there. That's what I'm saying. It's bad writing.
Right? I mean, they did that with Lord of the Rings, where they were like, why isn't the Tom Bombadil chapter in there? I'm like, because nothing happens in it. It states the obvious, which is, oh, I want you to keep the ring. Oh, but I can't keep it because eventually they'll break through our forces and it'll fall back into hands. So pretty redundant from a movie standpoint. Great as a book, but if you have that in the movie, people would be like, why was that in there? That just confused me. That didn't move it forward.
Exactly. So there's a Pulitzer Prize-winning play, Crimes of the Heart by Beth Henley, that I read. Because I had seen the movie Crimes of the Heart, which stars Jessica Lange, Sissy Spacek, Diane Keaton, Tess Harper, Sam Shepard.
Good movie.
I loved the characters, not just because of what they said, but because of what they didn't say or the way they said it. And so I thought the dialogue and the characters were so well written, I wanted to read the play and see why it won an award. And what an eye-opening experience it was to me as far as the art of making a movie and the art of writing a script, because very little was trimmed, but what was trimmed was so important, and it made it so much better.
Oh, man.
I'm not a big fan of stage dramas, and it made me an even bigger fan of scripts.
Well, staging, I think, is where it should just go back. All the people on Broadway who are good, let them be in charge of screenwriting. Don't have all these guys who worked one season on a show and has a lot of douchebag comments on Twitters. Don't put those guys in charge of a movie, please. This is where all the conflict comes from, is when they try to pull out David Mamet or Aaron Sorkin, but what they really are doing is they, instead of being as good as those guys where the material is great and they can justify it, they just want to just argue and just rip off better movies, like that son of John Landis. I forget his name. Doesn't matter. He's a prick. he acts like he has made the most original movies, and it's like, no, you're ripping off even more infamous movies, and you clearly hate women, and you got no speaking power. Your dad's a dick, and so are you. So please, just go away. And have the people of Hamilton. They've all been good actors. They've all been on pretty much every other kind of A-list thing, and they've done every kind of stage show. They can clearly do just about anything. So have those guys be in charge of a movie or a show, because they, again, staging is really everything.
Have they decided to make a Hamilton movie? I heard it was like on again, off again.
Oh yeah. They already made it. It premiered on Disney Plus, and
okay.
They did a good job of at least some of it. You can tell is lack of a better word. But basically, you really felt like it was theatrical. It's like, okay, that's good, because that's really hard to do for a play, because, you know, plays are all about, you got to see them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to hear. We probably should stop talking because it's late. I really enjoyed talking to you, though.
Likewise. And
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up